It's pretty much no secret that not only is A Nightmare on Elm Street from 2010 a horrible movie and one of the worst of its kind, but it is considered by many to be the worst horror remake of all time. Well, a couple months ago, I was watching a review of the movie with a couple friends of mine, and we were kind of coming up with ideas on how this movie could be improved. Maybe. It probably still would have sucked, but it's entirely possible this could have made it a step above some of the other crap remakes. So, just for fun, let's try to fix A Nightmare on Elm Street 2010. First things first, to have it sort of line up with what the original did. Kill off Nancy. In the original, it looked like that our main protagonist was going to be Tina, but she gets killed at around the end of the first act. That's when Nancy becomes our final girl. I think it would be interesting to not only kill off Nancy, but to make Quentin the main hero, sort of flipping some conventions on their heads. You think it's going to be Chris that's going to be the final girl, who is our Tina surrogate at this point, but nope, she dies too. Just sort of switching things up and also commemorates the original film and its twists. Plus, I think Kyle Gallner is a good enough actor to be a lead. Next is a small one, but the makeup. It looks fucking terrible, and just looks like somebody threw a pizza into Freddy's face. With this, I think it would be cool to reference the last time we kinda saw Freddy in a solo venture and have the makeup look more like Freddy in New Nightmare. Yes, I'm aware that New Nightmare wasn't technically Freddy, but considering that it is the best design for Freddy, period, I do not care. I think Jackie Earle Haley could have been way more threatening if he wore makeup that looked like this, rather than a first grader's Play-Doh art project. Some small things before the big change. No pointless CGI and no jump scares. While these were big in the time when this movie came out and would have had them regardless, since I'm changing what I want to change, nix these unnecessary additions. Plus, the repressed memories would be a bit more understated and not the crux of the plot. Like it's mentioned that possibly they had repressed memories, but in the end didn't and only admitted to these crimes to their parents because they thought they were going to get in trouble if they didn't. As well as building up the characters more instead of being knee-deep in the situation and then everyone is fodder. I know these movies want death in the first couple of minutes to hook people, so maybe start with the backstory of Freddy to lull you into the story with a death we already know. Plus, that will introduce the next change in a way. Finally, and it is the biggest thing, go full force on the mystery and actually make Freddy innocent. There was this weird sort of mystery in the movie where it was this absurd twist that, yep, Freddy was a child molester and the actual villain. Wow, didn't see that coming. Making Freddy the villain, what a shock. But what would have actually been a shock, making Freddy innocent. So the big reveal, instead of just reaffirming what we already know, which was pretty much this entire fucking movie, it actually does throw us for a loop. And that Freddy wanted revenge not because he got killed, but because he was accused of a crime he did not commit, and was eventually killed for it despite getting off. Plus, the flashback would have thrown hardcore fans for a loop, because we assume this is happening because he killed the kids, but in fact he didn't, commenting on vigilante justice and portrayal of circumstantial evidence. Plus, I'm probably just going to stick with him being a child killer. Maybe it's more outright stated that he possibly molested these kids rather than just implied it like in the original. Plus, bring in more supernatural ideas that maybe later on in the movie we further see that flashback sequence once everything is found out that Freddy made a deal with the devil to become this dream demon. Instead of trying to steer clear of what he's convicted of, he fully embraces it in death. Then it could also be revealed that maybe there was an actual killer that Freddy killed as his first victim, and that person was maybe one of the parents that headed the mob against Freddy, possibly even Quentin's dad. So Freddy could get his revenge properly while also taking out the actual person that hurt these kids. I wouldn't say I'm making him sympathetic or anything because Freddy just uses that as personal gain and not his own form of justice. Just like to state that. If there was anything else I would change, I would tweak some aspects here and there to make it feel like more of its own movie. No recreating scenes from the original, no boiler room, none of that crap. Just make it its own movie instead of retreading old ground. So yeah, this was sort of a non-video, but I thought it was a fun idea. If there was anything you would do, feel free to comment down below.